Imagination Unleashed, a discourse by Neville, October 1954. Have you ever taken a moment to reflect on the immense power that lies within your imagination? It's commonly understood that imagination stands as one of humanity's most formidable forces. It empowers us to forge wonders, break through barriers, and realize feats that once seemed unattainable. But what are the steps to cultivate this essential skill? In today's discourse, we shall delve into the realm of an awakened imagination. Together, we will uncover how imagination can transport us to extraordinary places and unlock the fullness of our capabilities. Stay with us, and prepare for an enlightening expedition of discovery and motivation. Ensure you view this video until its conclusion for a profound comprehension of the insights shared. Ensure you don't miss out on any more content. Subscribe to our channel now to keep abreast of our latest offerings. If you appreciate our efforts and wish to support our mission of delivering motivational material, please give us a thumbs up. The theme at hand this morning is the awakened imagination. Our discourse centers on igniting this faculty. The concept of imagination often suffers from murky interpretations, with the term being used to express a plethora of contradictory notions. This morning, my aim is to persuade you of its true significance, the salvaging power within mankind. This power is alluded to in the scriptures as the second man, the Lord from the heavens. It is personified for us through the figure known as Christ Jesus. In prior scriptures, it was referred to as Jacob, and through various accounts and names in the Bible, it culminates in the magnificent bloom named Christ Jesus. You may find it startling to equate the central character of the Gospels with human imagination, yet I am confident that by the end of this series, you will be assured that the ancient sages intended for us to grasp this truth. Alas, humanity has misread the Gospels, viewing them through the lenses of history, biography, and cosmology, oblivious to the dormant power within. This morning, I present to you a method for arousing this grand power that resides within us. I term it the art of revision. I reflect upon my day, revising each event from dawn to dusk. Whenever I stumble upon a moment that did not unfold to my satisfaction or failed to align with my ideal vision, I immediately revise it. I reconstruct the scene, adjusting it to reflect what I would have preferred, and then I immerse myself in this revised version within my imagination as though it had transpired in reality. I engage in this process repeatedly until it acquires a sense of actuality, and I am persuaded that the revised moment I relived will not retreat into the past but will proceed into my future to greet me as I have reshaped it. If I neglect to revise these moments, they will persistently advance, perpetuating the original, unpleasant incident. However, by refusing to let the day conclude with any displeasure, by never accepting the day's events as definitive no matter how factual they seem, and by revising them, I invoke changes that echo in the external world. This art of revision serves not only to realize my aims but also, as I commence the daily practice of revision, it fulfills its grandest purpose. This purpose is to awaken within me the entity known as Christ Jesus, whom I recognize as my extraordinary human imagination. When this awakening occurs, the divine eye turns inward, surveying the realm of thought. Once this inward gaze is initiated, I discern that everything I previously believed to exist externally actually resides within me. I find that all of creation originates and concludes within me, just as I am rooted in and conclude in God. From then on, I discover my true calling in life, which is to enact the will of the one who dispatched me here. The will of the one is this: to salvage every aspect of what he has bestowed upon me, to lose nothing, and to resurrect it anew. This includes all my life experiences and every individual I encounter. They are gifts from my Father to me. They have descended into my realm due to my attitudes towards society and towards myself. With the awakening and the opening of the eye, when the invisible becomes visible, I am then compelled to fulfill my true purpose, aligning with the will of the one who sent me. This will is to uplift those who, in my ignorance during slumber, I allowed to fall within me. The genuine art of revision begins here, to elevate the individual, irrespective of your preconceived notions or the apparent facts laid before you. Upon awakening, it becomes your duty to raise him within you, and you will discover that he was never the root of your displeasure. When you find discontentment upon observing another, turn your gaze inward, and you will uncover the true source of your discontent. Let me share an illustrative case study. Last May, in New York City, a long-standing attendee of my lectures made a pivotal decision. I had remarked that individuals should actively practice the word, not merely listen. Without application, one can never truly validate or invalidate what they have been taught. So, I recounted an anecdote about a woman who, after only a few visits, managed to significantly transform another's life. Hearing this, the attendee resolved to apply the teachings she had absorbed over the years. 2 years earlier, following a heated dispute, she had been ousted from her son's home by her daughter-in-law. Her son had said, "Mother, my love for you is self-evident, demonstrated daily. But if Mary has resolved this, I must stand by her, as we share our home and life together." From that point, for over 2 years, she permitted the sunset on her ire, yearning for the family she adored, feeling excluded. Here's the approach she took. Aware that the Morning Post bore no correspondence, on a Wednesday evening, she consciously chose to alter her narrative. She had sent numerous gifts to her grandson over 2 years, none acknowledged, though she knew they had been received. So, she sat that night, envisioning 2 letters addressed to her, one from the daughter-in-law, filled with warmth and longing, inviting her for a visit, and another from the grandson, expressing love and gratitude for a recent birthday gift and an eagerness to see her soon. She ingrained these fictional notes in her memory. As she prepared for sleep, she grasped these letters in her mind's eye, reading them internally, stirring within herself a sense of joy from being wanted by her family once more. She immersed herself in this assumption for 7 consecutive nights. On the morning of the 8th day, reality mirrored her imagination. She received actual letters, one from her grandson, another from her daughter-in-law, mirroring the content she had mentally authored. The estrangement, the conflict, the source of 2 years of agony, where did they stand now? When one's eyes are opened, the realization dawns that everything perceived externally is, in truth, internal, a mere shadow cast by the moral world. She graciously allowed me to recount her story. Upon sharing this narrative and entering the question and answer segment, the audience expressed a peculiar skepticism. They questioned the joy in life if we must author our own letters, if we must orchestrate every pleasant surprise. The desire for authentic, spontaneous expressions of love from others, rather than self-generated ones, was voiced. While the slumbering man may cling to this belief, the awakened man understands that all he encounters is an extension of himself. What he fails to recognize now, he will come to know, for the eye is now open. He has authored the narrative, initiated the drama, yet forgotten his role. He observes a world that appears alien, for most of us, in our sleep, remain utterly unaware of the workings within us. What the woman achieved is within the reach of each person here today. It does not necessitate years to validate. The revelations I share may perturb you, bordering on the unbelievable, for the madman believes in the reality of subjective states, while the rational man acknowledges only the tangible, the evidence provided by the senses. Yet, as you begin to awaken, you will assert the supremacy of the imagination and subordinate all to its dictates. No longer will you adhere to the facts as the sole truth of life. For you, the truth transcends the constraints of factual evidence, becoming a matter of the power and intensity of your imagination. And so, we encounter the embodiment of truth before reason, personified as Pontius Pilate, charged with the power to interrogate the truth. They ask, "What is truth?" and truth itself remains silent before them. He declines to provide excuses for his actions. He rejects the need to rationalize any deeds carried out against him because he understands that no individual approaches him unless summoned by his own will. No one can usurp my existence, I willingly relinquish it. It wasn't you who selected me, it was I who selected you. Herein lies the reality. The future is not perceived with objective detachment but rather seen as intimately connected to oneself, tracing back to the origin of all occurrences within one's personal realm. Then, when reason probes into the essence of truth, truth maintains its silence, offering no response. Why is this? It's because once the eye is open, it recognizes that what is merely an idea to the slumbering man becomes a tangible reality to the awakened imagination, an actuality, not a mere concept. I envision the idea of a friend and paint a splendid image of them within my thoughts. In my slumber, it appears as nothing more than a wish, a yearning of the heart, entirely subjective, a mere thought. But then, the I within me awakens, and there he stands, personifying the very quality I yearn to witness and manifest during my restful state. What remains an intangible thought for the one who sleeps? This practice requires the conscious, deliberate engagement of the imagination, as opposed to the passive, involuntary acceptance of what seems to be. Never deem anything as definitive truth unless it resonates with the perfection you aim to manifest within your world. Mirror the actions of the lady mentioned previously, but begin now, and continue it routinely. The outcomes might manifest by tomorrow, the day after, or perhaps within a week, but rest assured, they will materialize. You don't require an elaborate laboratory like our scientists to validate or negate this theory. Back in 1905, a young man left the scientific community astounded with an equation that none could test at the time. He claimed that barely a handful of individuals alive could grasp his equation. 14 years elapsed before Lord Rutherford could devise a method to test this equation, and it proved to be accurate, not perfectly so, as the means for a thorough examination were not yet available. Another 14 years passed before more advanced testing confirmed the veracity of Einstein's 1905 equation. Today, humanity, oblivious to the might of their own imagination, marvels at the outcomes of this unleashed energy. Yet it was Einstein himself who stated, and I've emblazoned this on the cover of my latest book, imagination is more important than knowledge. For when man takes evidence as the conclusive truth, he forfeits the divine gift of redemption, his imagination. I now invite you to put this to the test. The mere 3 weeks of my presence here will not suffice to authenticate or disprove it. The knowledge alone cannot substantiate itself. Only through the application of this knowledge can its truth or fallacy be discerned. My experiences assure me that it is irrefutable. Set an objective. Consider a job. Reflect on a dialogue with your superior. Contemplate a pay raise. You may protest, the circumstances don't permit it, perhaps the rules stand in the way. The constraints are irrelevant. Yesterday, I received correspondence from a ship captain in San Francisco. He's a seasoned pilot who has navigated the globe's 7 seas. His passion is for the ocean, and nothing else captivates him as much as the call of the sea. Yet, he faces restrictions on certain waters due to seniority issues. Despite his reasoning, the union's stance is adamant, and they've closed the matter. In response to his predicament, I told him, it matters not, they have decided. By doing so, you're ceding the divine power rightfully belonging to God, which is your own imagination, to mere shadows cast on the world's canvas. Here we sit in this space, it must remain a space. You cannot simply declare it to be something else through imagination, now it transforms into a bridge. I am a visitor on the bridge of your vessel, and you are sailing through waters unrestricted by the union. You traverse the waters of your choice. Now, close your eyes, sense the ocean's rhythm with me, share in my thoughts, and express your elation at proving this principle for the first time and, furthermore, for voyaging upon the seas as you desire. At present, he finds himself in Vancouver aboard a vessel laden with timber bound for Panama, with a full itinerary that spans the entire year. What is required of this man? He finds himself legitimately in waters previously deemed off-limits by the Union. This approach does not circumvent unions, but does not place anyone else in our stead. We do not usurp the roles of rulers or leaders, nor elevate them above the power that rightfully pertains to God. I shall not transgress the law, but I will unveil possibilities I had not foreseen. I will sit in stillness, and within me, I will alter the existing image. I will hear the one who denied my request, and I will listen as they assent, opening a pathway. No strings to pull, no mechanisms to manipulate. I call upon this wondrous power within me that mankind has neglected, having personified it as a separate being, despite it being a majestic representation of humanity. That figure is not the true essence. The true essence does not inhabit some distant realm. When true religion speaks, it does not allude to an alternate universe, it refers to another being intrinsic yet unborn within every individual, attuned to a different realm of significance. So the man sat down, attuned himself to a distinct realm of significance, and manifested a power that he had let fall dormant because he adhered too closely to the laws of man, accepting them as absolute. Those laws, the Union statutes, were read to him, and now, he voyages across the ocean at his leisure. The grandmother is no longer barred from the home she holds dear but is in unity with it. She was isolated for 2 years, and he, too, was isolated for over 18 months, allowing his resentment to smolder day after day, possessing the key to unlock all the doors of the world yet not using it. I assert to each of you that this knowledge will not strip away your external comforts or your faith, for these are but trifles to the slumbering individual. But with the awakening within you, that which awakens ushers in a new world, one unseen by those who sleep. Then you begin to elevate within yourself all the entities that God has bestowed upon you, and I affirm to you that God has given you every being that treads upon the earth. For this reason, nothing is to be discarded. The entire world must be redeemed, and your personal life is the conduit through which this redemption occurs. Thus, we do not reject the displeasing, we amend it, and in amending, we revoke it. Through this revocation, it is projected into our reality, testifying to the power within us, our remarkable human imagination. And I intentionally emphasize human. Some urge me to employ the term divine. Yet this term has become strange to man. He has distanced himself from the very concept, which he now venerates under different titles. I speak of the human imagination. As Blake asserted, rivers, mountains, cities, and villages, all are human. When the eye awakens, you perceive them within the sanctuary of your being, they are rooted there. Do not allow them to fall and remain prostrate, raise them up, for the will of my Father dictates this. Of all that he has granted me, I shall lose none but elevate it all. Each time you reformulate your perception of another, you do so to reflect the optimum portrayal you wish to see realized in the world. In treating him as you wish to be treated by the world, and in seeing him uplifted, you will observe the transformation within that individual. Firstly, he is inverted. No longer does he view the world with stark objectivity, but now sees all as subjectively intertwined with himself, hinging upon his upliftment. He flourishes from within. When my eyes first opened, I beheld man as a vision. I perceived what seemed like a walking tree. Some resembled youthful saplings, others stood majestic with lush foliage, and those who were truly awake bloomed in their full splendor. These are the trees in God's garden, as depicted through the ancient practice of revision in the 61st chapter of the book of Isaiah, from despair to beauty, from grief to exultation, from despondency to a cloak of praise, so they may be known as trees of righteousness. This is the task before every individual, this is the act of revision. When a deal concludes irreversibly, transforming prospects into ruins, envision beauty in its stead, imagine thriving clients, flourishing finances, and favorable regard towards you, healthiness in every aspect. Envision them engaging with you, whether as patrons in your shop or as colleagues in your factory, see nothing but encouragement. Elevate, replace desolation with allure, for to be dismissed from employment with a family to sustain would indeed render one's life to ashes. Where there is lamentation, instill joy. Where there is heaviness, infuse a spirit of praise. By revising your day in this manner, you turn the tide, and by this transformation, you become visible. All the vigor that waned during your oblivious slumber now manifests within you. You transform into a tree of virtue, cultivated for the splendor of God. I have witnessed them traversing this marvelous domain, which is indeed the celestial garden. We must not exclude ourselves from our own identity nor deny it. As related in the book of Daniel, we were once a magnificent tree, hewn down to its very foundation. This tree once provided sanctuary for nations, sustained them, offered solace to birds, and shade to beasts under the midday sun. Suddenly, an inner proclamation declared, "Let it stand, untouched, but do not disturb its roots. I shall nourish it with heaven's dew, and as I do, it shall burgeon anew." However, this time, it will grow with full consciousness of its true essence. In its former glory, it was regal yet oblivious to its own grandeur, and thus, it was felled. This symbolizes humanity's descent, and now, it shall sprout once more from within. It shall become a living tree, majestic and splendid. For those deeply ensconced in slumber, this notion may seem as astonishing as Einstein's equation once was. It was a marvel, indeed, but I assure you, I have witnessed and continue to see that men are ordained to become trees within God's garden. They are rooted on this earth with a purpose, not destined to remain merely as men. They undergo a transformation as they turn and reveal themselves. This is the essence of transfiguration. A complete metamorphosis unfolds, akin to the transformation of a larva into a butterfly. You are not condemned to remain as you appear when humanity slumbers. There is no spectacle more magnificent than beholding a human being come to life, vibrant, with every extension within him representing another aspect of himself. This is my message to you. I offer you the keys to awaken that which lies dormant within you, for the Son of God slumbers in mankind, with the singular intent of being roused. The objective is not to stir this presence in a manner as mundane as it may sound. Rather, this discerning man is merely a vessel, known as the first man. The first will become the last, and the last will rise to be first. Thus, what emerges second, akin to Jacob trailing from the womb after his brother Esau, assumes supremacy over his elder sibling. Esau was the one cloaked in hair, while Jacob was the smooth-skinned youth. Yet, it is the latter, the second to arrive, who ultimately reigns over nations, and the one who resides in slumber within every individual born of woman is the one whom a true teacher or genuine religion seeks to rouse. Not to speak of another realm, not to proffer promises that await beyond life's threshold, but to awaken here and now, to realize that heaven is upon us, and the kingdom has arrived on this very day on earth. As he stirs from his slumber, he revises his day, rewrites his narrative, and casts a more radiant depiction upon the canvas of existence. Now, let us all embrace a moment of silent contemplation.